Raman has written books on all subjects, whether it is Tajika, Prashna, Parashara, all systems he has written books. And Nadi, there is no exclusive book. Although Dr. Raman wanted to, as he has already said in my experiences, he wanted to publish a book on Shukra Nadi, but that has not come up. I think only Madam can throw some light on that. This presentation is done as a tribute to our founder. The main purpose of this presentation is to highlight the personal contribution of Dr. B.V.Raman towards the understanding and propagation of Nadi astrology, which is a lesser known facet of his multifaceted personality, and to know astrologically what made him such a great personality. It is planned to discuss Dr. Raman's opinions on Nadi astrology, Dr. Raman's interest and experiences with Nadi astrology, and Dr. Raman's contributions towards spreading Nadi astrology, and finally, a brief analysis of Dr. Raman's chart using basic Nadi principles. So the information in the first part of the lecture, around 15 to 16 slides, connected to the initial text part, is drawn from my experiences in astrology, which is later published as the autobiography of a Vedic astrologer. It discusses many interesting anecdotes concerning Dr. Raman's interest, study, involvement, and experiences as a Vedic astrologer, which includes his interests in Nadi astrology also. Some details are compiled from old astrological magazines, and again, some bit of information is compiled from Nadi Praveshika, where Madam Gayatri Devi was shared her reminiscences with Dr. Raman. Here, basically, Dr. Raman had Vedic astrology in very high esteem as against Western astrology. I quote, "In astrology, what may seem theoretically scientific and sound may not practically work. Between mathematically sound systems and those based on deep symbolism, perhaps the latter is more preferable." This comment is with reference to the various divisions of houses used in Western astrology, and he categorically says, again I quote, "The Western system lacked depth and substance. The methods employed for timing events were not quite reliable, and the Hindu system alone could be considered the system par excellence. My fascination for Western astrology waned until I rejected it in 1941, entirely in favor of the Hindu system." Again, references are here. Specifically on Nadi astrology, again, Dr. Raman, I quote, "The Nadis or the Nadi Granthas are compilations by the masters of the science of astrology, the Maharishis or the sages, the very same masterminds who have written treatises on every subject of Indian culture and whose forte was observation and meditation. They contain not only hundreds and thousands of ready-made horoscopes and horoscope patterns, but also valuable astrological formulae. The Nadi literature should be regarded as absolutely special and original to Indian culture and genius." And he has called the Nadi system of astrology as the great Nadi system in one of his lectures. From these references, we can infer that Dr. Raman had a very high esteem of both Vedic astrology and Nadi astrology in particular. So Dr. Raman's interest He was very much fascinated and intrigued by the methods of Nadi astrology right from his early years of learning astrology. We can see instances and discussions in my experiences. His interest in Nadi astrology continued unabated until the 60s, when he decided not to waste time or money on hunting after the Nadis. This is again statement by Dr. Raman only I have changed the tense of that statement. In September 1970, when he delivered a lecture at London, while selecting the topic, he had selected the topic as Nadi astrology, and before that Western audience, when he was justifying the selection of the topic, he says, I quote, I could not think of a more appropriate theme than Nadi astrology, a subject in which I have been making investigations for over 20 years. That was in 1970 itself. So he had also described Nadi astrology as a subject that was not only novel, but also instructive. That is again in the same lecture. So Dr. B.V.Raman continued to patronize Nadi system of astrology till his last. He had also thought of publishing Nadi text. Just now I just shared this. But reasons best known, it has not materialized on Shukra Nadi. So Dr. Raman had first-hand experiences with Nadi. He has narrated many instances in his experiences. When they were planning to restart Astrological magazine, first time during 1930, it was Professor Suryanarayan Rao was not willing to start it because of a particular combination that Professor Rao himself was running the Dasha of Naidanatara. And there is some discussion in my experiences where Dr. Raman insists on starting it in 1930. But then Dr. Raman also was running Rahu Dasha Ketu Bhukti with Rahu Ketu in 2/8 axis, as we will be seeing later. After discussion, Professor Rao agrees because Rahu is also in Mercury star, and because it is related to writing, Professor Rao says, okay, you can continue. But they started in May 1930, and Dr. Raman, again, it only ran for 3 years, and that too with a lot of problems. And Dr. Raman recounts, I again quote, it is impossible to describe the agony, the suffering and the stress I had to pass through to carry out my decision of bringing out the magazine. This particular decision of Naidanatara, the Dasha prediction based on Tarabala, is specifically available in Dhruvanadi, which is shared by Mr. C.G. Rajan in Jataka Satyacharyam. That is the first book I have read. Subsequently, others have started writing it, using it. Next. And during 1935, Dr. Raman has taken 2 Nadi readings. Again, one from a Madhuliyar at Egmore, which is Markandeya Nadi. And the second one, Agastya Nadi from a Nadar at Rayapet. Dr. Raman again says, I quote, Markandeya Nadi impressed me. Most of the future predictions given in 1935 have turned out to be correct. I couldn't unquote. As regards Agastya Nadi, again Dr. Raman writes, I quote, one of the specific predictions made was that within a week, my wife would give birth to a son who would have Madhyayu. The first part of the prediction was fulfilled as a son was born within 10 days. I understand the second part was not fulfilled because he did not live up to Madhyayu, but he predeceased. That is why Dr. Raman writes it as that second part did not come through. Again, during 1938, Dr. Raman visited Varanasi and took a Bhrigu Samhita reading. About this, Dr. Raman recounts, I quote, whatever it said about the future, including the name and the lagna of my wife, could be considered to be fairly accurate, differing by a year or two in the matter of foreign travel. basically this also almost he was agreeable. And then regarding Budanadi, Dr. Raman was having a lot of interest. From the period from 1936 to 1958, Dr. Raman used to meet a Budanadi reader, one Shri Srinivasachari, and he says he had many sittings with him and gathered many information from him about Budanadi astrology. Dr. Raman observed that Budanadi had a peculiar method of interpretation. He also narrates a typical Budanadi reading in his My Experiences. Dr. Raman rated the Briguna reading given to him as the second best, initially what he took. And the first one from Markandeya Nadi was the best. Dr. Raman had also seen and examined many Nadi books, Nadi systems, like Guru Nadi, Shukra Nadi, Markandeya Nadi, Nandi Nadi, Kaumar Nadi, Sukha Nadi, Buddha Nadi, Saraswati Nadi, Dhruva Nadi, and Satya Nadi. And Dr. Raman rated Dhruva Nadi and Sukra Nadi as really superb. This is again there in Dr. Raman's book, My Experiments. Specifically in Nadi system, we have Mantra Nadis. And Mantra Nadis, Dr. Raman comments, I quote, there were quite a number of spurious works going under the name of Nadi astrology. These were Mantra Nadis based on acquisition of control over Uchishta or Kshudra mantras, the profane or mean low mantras. These gave the past accurately, misleading the consulter about the future. And actually, Dr. Raman was not favoring the practice of such Shudra mantras in astrology, as he was directed or guided by his mentor, Professor Rao. That is also discussed in the book. Dr. Raman personally encouraged writings on Nadi astrology by other scholars. The Astrological magazine had been publishing articles on Nadi astrology by different scholars regularly at frequent intervals. The writers included, I think, Dr. Nagaraj Sharma, about 5 parts in magazine. Shri V. Venkatraman Rao was written on mundane astrology, Nadi mundane astrology from Kagabujandar Nadi. Mr. M.S. Narayanan, a pen name, author with the pen name Gemini. Mr. Biswas, Mr. S. Kannan, the famous astrologer of yesteryears and well-known Mr. C.S. Patel, H.R. Shankar, V.A.K. Iyer, N. Sundararajan, and our own Dr. Vasan, and many others. He had also published the results of different Nadi Amshas in the Astrological magazine monthly. These writings have been kindling the interests of others. Even in the first article, there is one special thing which I just wanted to record or share here. Even the first article on stellar Nadi astrology, which became the main key to KP system, was published in January 1955 issue of the Astrological magazine. This article was written by Shri R. Gopal Krishna Rao, popularly known as Meena, the author of Meena Nadi. The division of a star into 9 unequal parts, proportionately as per the Vimshotri Dasha duration of their lords, was first discussed in that article. This was taken as the basis, and Professor Krishnamurthy developed it into KP system of stellar Nadi astrology. Of course, without giving credit to Mr. Gopal Krishna Rao. Next. Dr. Raman, whenever there is an occasion to mention, he has been mentioning the speciality of Nadi astrology in most of his lectures wherever required. He had delivered many exclusive lectures on Nadi astrology both in India and abroad. A summary of 2 of his lectures, one in 1970 at Astrological Lodge, London, and India's contribution to astrology, including Nadi astrology, in October 1992. They are published in Astrological magazine in full. Next. So this is basically the background. So Dr. Raman was very much involved with Nadi astrology. So the next part of this presentation a small presentation analysis of Dr. Raman's chart based on Nadi astrology. We have heard our LCG talking about multiple yogas in the horoscope, but here the general method of analyzing the horoscope using Briganandi Nadi, I am using it from general planetary conjunctions point. Usually in Briganandi Nadi, conjunctions are supposed to give yoga pala. And influences of aspects, there are some variations. 3, 7, 11 aspects, they give modifying results. And other aspects again change the influence. So we'll be seeing the modifying aspects here. And then 2 special yogas. One yoga from Briganandi Nadi, which is Chiranjeevi Yoga. And the other yoga from Chandrakala Nadi, called as Karma Samrajya Yoga. Next. This is horoscope of Dr. Raman, which we are familiar. Next. So the conjunctions, I'm just starting with trinal conjunctions. This also, most of us are familiar here. The conjunctions usually in the sign-based, we are taking in trinal conjunctions are the basic method. So in trines, fiery signs or eastern signs. Again, we know signs are divided into fiery, earthy, airy, watery, and fiery signs are eastern signs, and the west, east, south, west, north. In that order, again, we assign the signs from Mesha to Karkataka, then again the cycle repeats. So the planets posited accordingly in eastern signs are considered to be in the same, they are taken as if they are in conjunction, even though they are in different signs in the horoscope. So the conjunctions in different signs, the trines are presented in this. We'll be going in detail with this. So the first conjunction I am taking in the north signs, which is in Karkataka, Vrishchika and Meena. Basically, we can see this chart. Jupiter in Vrishchika, Sun is in Karkataka, and Rahu is in Meena. So these 3, as a conjunction, they have given a special yoga. Jupiter signifying scholarly wisdom, Sun signifying name, fame and honor. Rahu, apart from other things, he also deals mundane matters and paternal grandfather. In Nadi analysis, we take one additional principle which I have shown in the next line with Jupiter, Rahu, less than Rahu that way. Longitude wise, if you analyze the horoscope planetary link, the planet which is behind is always influenced by the planet which is ahead, longitude wise. The planet which is ahead transfers its influence to the planet which is behind. This is one principle which is there in Nadi. And here, Jupiter is behind Rahu, longitude wise, and Rahu is behind Sun. So Sun gives its Karakattvas to Rahu, who transfers both the Karakattvas of Sun and Rahu to Jupiter. As a result of this conjunction, which is happening around 10th house, this made Dr. Raman the best exponent of astrology. Again, Jupiter also is involved. And Rahu denotes both the influence of his grandfather, paternal grandfather, and mundane astrology. So this is Yoga Pala which he could derive from this combination. So the next combination. So same combination if we try to see Bhava wise from Lagna, Rahu is in 2nd house, Sun is in 6th house, and Jupiter is in 10th house from Lagna. So for profession, we try to analyze 2nd, 6th, 10th, and 11th houses and their lords. And in this chart, the profession is influenced very strongly by this interconnection of Rahu, Sun, and Jupiter in north direction. This also ensured that the native got the required grooming and support from his paternal grandfather, and his personality got molded suitably so as to make him a man of destiny, a Yuga Purusha later on. Specifically, Sun in 6th house, which is the house of Prarabdha, from Lagna, connotes the support of his soul's Prarabdha in getting these results because of this planetary combination. Next. So the next conjunction of planets is in the fiery signs, east direction. This also works as Dharma Trikona. Venus, Mercury and Mars with Mercury retrograde. Venus gives wealth and luxury. Mercury gives intelligence, good writing and mathematical ability. Mars rules courage. As per the same dictum, Venus is behind Mercury and Mercury is behind Mars. So Mars transfers its energy to Mercury. Mercury transfers its energy to Venus. And as a result, these three planets, they are posited in 10th house from Jupiter, because in Nadi we take Jupiter as the central point for analyzing the influence of the individual from the individual's life. And again, you from 7th house from Lagna. The same combination is there in 10th house from Jupiter and first at 7th house from Lagna. So 7th house is also 10th to 10th in conventional sense. So this conjunction has made him both bold and intelligent enough to pursue his professional goals and achieve success, even materially. Next. So the retrogression of Mercury, here again is a special significance. Alsaji has already hinted this. Retrograde Mercury, we know it operates from the previous house also, which happens to be the 9th house from Jupiter. So this creates a virtual conjunction between Jupiter and Mercury. As a result, according to the saying, Guru Buddhi Visheshataha, Dr. Raman was endowed with exceptional knowledge, wisdom and writing skills in astrology and allied subjects. Next. So in the next conjunction in earthy signs, we have Saturn, Moon and Ketu in trinal. Saturn is Karmakaraka, Moon is the mind, Ketu rules moksha and obstacles. In this case, Saturn is behind Ketu and Ketu is behind Moon. So Moon gives its Karakattvas to Ketu, who transfers the Karakattvas of both Moon and Ketu to Saturn. In fact, this is a sort of a sannyasa yoga in Nadi and yoga for renunciation. As a result, it has made Dr. Raman a karma yogi, not attached to material fruits and comforts. His main focus was only to work for the chosen cause with a deterministic mind. Next. So this speaks for his vision and mission. This is already highlighted in the morning. Next. Again, Dr. Raman's life, a simple living, exemplary. He is an exemplary example of a life of simple living with high thinking, and he was a true karma yogi. So in aspects, I am using only the modifying aspects. Due to paucity of time, we will only be discussing modifying aspects. The aspects in 3, 7, 11 are modifiers. Planets in 2nd, 6th and 10th houses from a sign indicate the native's action plan. Planets in 4th, 8th and 12th houses from a sign indicate the native's past experiences. So we will be restricting ourselves only to the modifying influences. So generally aspects of friendly planets are favorable. So the modifying aspect of Saturn and Moon on Jupiter, this already our Alsaji has highlighted. Saturn is Shramakaraka along with Karmakaraka. Moon signifies mind and also travels. Jupiter is Jiva Swarupa, it connoting higher wisdom. The conjoined aspect of Saturn and Moon on Jupiter created a Karma Jiva Samyoga in the minds of the native and made him strive relentlessly for achieving his goal in life by frequently traveling far and wide. This is his Jiva, that means his Jiva espoused karma and found mental solace in readily carrying out his chosen path in a meticulous way, like the ancient rishis who used to embark upon Digvijaya. Is a very famous thing. Normally, the rishis used to travel far and wide to spread the divine knowledge. And Dr. Raman, embarked upon the same, and then he was traveling far and wide to spread the cause of astrology. Next. So the aspects of, again, Ketu and Rahu, third aspect of Ketu on Jupiter, it created, Ketu again is a planet of obstacles we have seen, and it created frequent obstacles in his professional achievements with a lot of effort he could surmount. And this has also given moksha jnana. Alsaji has already pointed out this. And aspect of Rahu on Saturn and Moon, it had afflicted his comforts because the combination of Saturn and Moon are there in 4th house from Lagna, which rules comforts or possessions. He chose a simple living like a sannyasi. The influence of Rahu also talks of his expertise in mundane astrology, doing deep researches. Rahu plus Saturn, they indicate that connection. Next. Here I have only two small yogas. Alsaji has already given a lot of yogas in the chat. So these two yogas, one Chiranjeevi yoga from Bhrigunandi Nadi and Karma Samrajya yoga from Chandrakala Nadi. So next. So the combination for Chiranjeevi yoga, if Sun is posited in trines or in 7th house from Jupiter, the native attains Chiranjeevi yoga. Dr. Raman's chart, we can see Sun is posited in Cancer and Jupiter is posited in Scorpio. Both are in mutual trines, forming Chiranjeevi yoga. Next. The results, the native gets everlasting name and fame, and his name will be etched indelibly in the hearts of billions of people, even in the generations to come. This is one of these special yogas. And the next yoga is Karma Samrajya yoga. The combination is 10th Lord posited in Kendra from Chandra with aspects by the Lords of 2nd and 11th houses. This particular combination is applicable especially only to fixed signs or immovable ascendants. This is as per Shloka 1264 of Chandrakala Nadi. In Dr. Raman's chart, the 10th Lord Mars, who is in Leo, is posited in 4th house from Chandra, who is in Rishabha, forming this Karma Samrajya Yoga. So the results, the native will be rich, valorous, and widely famous. He will adopt a virtuous path and be ever righteous. He will serve the king and his minister. He will be wealthy with lot of possessions, will be lustful, and will enjoy much pleasures. The first part of this yoga is 100% tallying with Dr. Raman's chart. So, this is what I just want to say in the last before I conclude. Dr. Raman is an eternal guide. Never before and never again such a Yuga Purusha, a towering personality like Dr. B.V.Raman would ever be seen among the astrologers of the world. For all of us in ICAS, he is the universal master. In Theosophy, there is a concept called universal masters. They say when the student is ready, the master arrives. That means universal masters are waiting in their divine abode, waiting for the student to come, approach them, seek them intently. So if they seek, they guide from the universal soul abode. And I consider the eternal Dr. Raman as an eternal guide who keeps guiding us from his divine abode even today. Thank you.